Hello again, friends. David here with Philippine American couple. It's that time. We're going to do another weekly update on moving to the Philippines. But first, if you would, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already done that. You hit our like button. That helps us, find traction in the YouTube world. And two, of course, hit that alert bell so you can see upcoming videos on our journeys. So this weekly update is kind of an interesting one. One, have you been following? I just had my ankle surgery, so I'm actually in a cast, so I can't really roam outside the house very much. See, I even have my crutches handy. So I've been kind of homebound, but all of that's going pretty well. That's going on there. And then, let's see, here's something that's kind of cool or strange or exciting that I've learned. As you guys probably know, I watch a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of bloggers from all over the world, different countries and different things. And this week I was noticing that in the Philippines, how it's now going to be required not only to wear your mask, but a face shield, okay, which is good. I like face shields. The interesting thing was another blogger in the Philippines. And I'll put his link to his YouTube channel in the description here. He's Philly in the Philippines. His name's Brian. He's a pretty good guy. He has a quirky sense of humor. And so he did a little research on these face shields, right? Clear face shields. And what he found was they were actually manufactured in China. So it's kind of humorous to some of us to think that the pandemic originated, right, in China. And now China is selling PPE to protect you against their pandemic. It's kind of like China has waged a war without, using a bullet. And now they're going to try to capitalize financially on it by selling you, Band-Aids. So it's just kind of funny. Now, in the United States, that would never happen. China's products are not allowed in the United States really at that point. So that wouldn't happen. Well, that's what's going on. So I kind of found that interesting. And I don't know if that's the same way in Thailand and Malaysia and other places. The other interesting thing about that was he had to go out there and Google and search the company name and search who owned the company that made these face shields. Because it wasn't on the box. Usually things says made in the USA, made in China, made in the Philippines. The box had none of that. So he had to go do a little work. So they were almost hiding the fact that they were made in China. So, I don't know. That's kind of interesting. Another thing that's happened is the Philippines has once again changed the rules about visas. And they've come out and said, okay, right now, even people like myself who would be going back on a Balikbayan visa can't come. We have to get a visa beforehand from the consulate in our country. So that's put a big roadblock onto a lot of people who would have what they were calling long-term visas going to the Philippines. So I don't know where, sorry about that. I'm not for sure where all that's going to play into ours. I'm hoping that since things change so much, the rules and regulations in the Philippines, that by the time that we're ready to do all of this, it's back to normal, and we won't have a problem with coming back on a Balikbayan visa. But right now, they're saying, I can't come back on that. I still have to apply for a visa independent and the consulate and be able to enter the Philippines. So that's kind of a bummer. It's thrown a lot of people into chaos because I've been reading and watching that there was a lot of folks who'd already planned, since they had long-term retirement visas or Balikbayan visas, which is a spousal one, planning to come there. They already made plans, bought tickets, so they're kind of out. So that's a bummer. Now, On our front, we did get information today from the Philippine Consulate in Chicago. Now, telling Lorelai when her swearing-in date would be, which was fantastic news, you would think. But the problem is, if you remember, some of my other videos I've talked about how Chicago has quarantined or will not be allowing people from 17 different states to come to Chicago. Arkansas, where we live, is one of those states. So we've done some research, made some phone calls today, and found that if Lorelai plans on attending her swearing-in ceremony in September, then she has to go to Chicago, stay in a hotel room, and be self-quarantined for 2 weeks before then. That's just not possible for us. One, my leg is still in a cast, and medically, she needs to be here to help me. So that ain't going to work. Plus, spending 2 weeks in a hotel by yourself, quarantine, one, that would cost us many thousands of dollars to do all that. So we're kind of screwed, when it comes to that. So here's our options. The consulate told us that we can pull our application. If we did nothing, then it just dies. So what they told us we could do is pull her application back, and then we can resubmit it to a consulate in the United States that will allow travel. So we're thinking we might have to go to Miami, Florida, or Houston, Texas. So what we're going to have to do now is we have to send Chicago consulate a self-addressed box, ship it to them, pay, I don't know, it's probably going to cost us $20 to $30 to get an empty box to them so that they can put her application paperwork back in, all the original, and ship that back to us. Now, the good news is apparently they're not going to charge us the processing fee, the $60, I think is what it was. So they're going to give that back to us. And then we got to turn around and reapply this to a consulate that we can actually get to. Right now, Florida and Texas is in the same group of states as Arkansas as having a high rate of pandemic. So right now, nobody's caring whether we cross borders into Texas or to Florida or Alabama. So we're hoping, we're going to call them first and double check everything, that we can either go to Houston or Miami, Florida. But what this does do, now, it pushes us back maybe another 3 to 4 months. So I've always thought maybe this would be done in October, the dual citizenship for Lorelai, but that's not going to happen. So I'll be shocked if her dual citizenship gets processed by December. So, which is okay, because as I've told you guys in other videos, we still got a lot to do before we can even move to the Philippines. We really do. So we were planning to be there next. If we could have been, we would have been in the Philippines now. If we could have been, we would have been there by Christmas time. But it's definitely looking like that. We can't get there until the spring or maybe summer of next year. So, good news, bad news, it's just news. There's not a whole lot we can do about it, but do what we can do. So we're going to resubmit the application. Hopefully it won't take but a few weeks for them to approve it again, or maybe less, and then for it to be scheduled. And then maybe in October, in November, we'll be able to fly to Houston, Texas, and do the swearing-in ceremony. That's our goal. Because right now, it doesn't look like Chicago is going to let people in anytime soon. I called Chicago today. I looked at their website about the pandemic, everything. And there's definitely no exceptions that would allow us to get there in September without being quarantined there for 14 days. So that's just not going to work for us. And then, of course, And one topic I'll touch on just a little bit is, obviously, since I've been having my foot worked on, one of the things we are doing, Lorelai and I both, we have some health issues and things that we're trying to resolve in the United States before we get to the Philippines. So maybe all of this is perfect timing, going to work out. That's going to allow us to get things done medically here in the U.S. And then by spring of next year, we'll be able to sell our house. Now I am going to be doing a video on what my medical choices are and understanding the healthcare in the Philippines, whether I do a supplemental, what I'm going to do. So I'll be look forward to seeing a video on that. It's a little ways away, but I am going to be doing a video on that. I'm going to do another little video on our cars. We've had some interest. We haven't tried to sell our cars, but we've had some interest from people wanting to buy our cars. So I'll do a little video talking about our options to sell a car here in the United States. So there's interesting things about that. So I'll do a little bit on that. But other than that, besides doing the medical stuff, we're pretty much just in a hurry up and wait, which I think a lot of people are. I know a lot of people are very tired of the pandemic and they're wishing the world would get back to normal. And boy, so do we. And this throws a monkey wrench into our plans to go to Chicago and get this dual citizenship worked out. But, we just don't have a choice. We're going to have to switch gears and go to Miami or to Houston, Texas. So, that's my weekly update, guys. Look, I greatly appreciate you guys following the channel. It means the world to Lorelai and I. And just make sure you share with your friends and family and help us build our channel and our community. And of course, if you have any questions, just send me an email. You can Facebook me, whatever you want. And I'm happy to answer and to talk about things. And I appreciate some of you new folks who have joined in and been asking questions. So I do appreciate that, guys. All right, enough of me. Take care.